guys, today we're going to go through English Language Paper 2 Question 4. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe and the bell so that you get notifications whenever I upload new content. So the key points. So in the mark scheme you're marked on your AO3. So this is your ability to compare the writer's perspectives and their feelings. You also need to remember that you need textual references throughout whilst you're making your points. So if you look at the picture there of the young boy, consider what his perspective is and then consider the perspective of the person taking the picture. Although they're looking at the same thing, they're experiencing it quite differently. Compare the writer's methods. So this essentially allows you to broaden your horizons because you're not asked to specifically focus on structural or language features. You have the option of just focusing on methods that the writers use. How do they use methods to convey an idea that you found? Symbolism, alliteration, onomatopoeia, imagery, formality, powerful verbs, ambiguity, simile, abstract nouns, imperatives, emotive language, tone, repetition, the rule of three, hyperboles, sentence structure, personification, cyclical structures, sensory language, pathetic fallacy, shifts in focus, juxtaposition, flashbacks, declaratives, metaphors, and adverbs. So you are everything is open to you in this sense, and if you don't know what any of these terms mean, look at my previous video. I've got one on structural and language devices that you should learn. I suggest 3 strong paragraphs, so 3 main points that reflect the writer's feelings and perspectives, and 20 minutes in total on this question, but spend 5 minutes really thinking about what it is that you want to say. What are your 3 main points and how are you going to argue them? What methods are used to argue and to show a specific point? This is an example of a question from June 2019. So compare how the writers convey their different perspectives and feelings about their experiences at sea. We're going to go through a model paragraph for this in a moment, but if you look, the bullet points are there which show you what's expected from the mark scheme. So in this exam, examiners found students were able to see source A was riddled with fear, where the writer linked it to thoughts of home. They were able to see the writer's feelings in source B were ambiguous at first because he describes being nervous, reassured, relaxed and scared. So it's unclear exactly how he felt. They were also able to see the changes in perspectives and feelings in both of the sources. However, students struggle to address the question of how. So how has the writer shown this perspective or feeling? They would just tag on random methods without any real relevance to whatever it is their point was. So you're not being assessed on your ability to pick out language or structural devices. You have to tell your marker what this is being used for. How is it conveying this feeling or perspective? So this is the first source. So take a moment, pause the video, read through it and make some notes to see what you can find. What is the writer's perspective? How is the writer feeling? What methods does the writer use to get this across? And here is source B. Already just from looking at it you can see some structural differences. So take a moment with this one as well. Right, so now let's start planning. So as I've read both of them, these are the ideas that came to my mind. There are flashbacks in source A, published in 2005. I considered how long it was till we get his entire perspective. There's a small rowing boat, rhetorical questions, there's repetition, there's sensory language, there's fear and anxiety, emotive language, varied paragraph lengths, and metaphors. But in source B, it was published in 1893. There's concern for the self, a large ship, it personifies the ship, there's direct speech, longer and more narrative style descriptions, onomatopoeia, long descriptive sentences, many people, acceptance and understanding, and a change in perspective. But we're not looking for them individually. So these are some of the methods and some of the key facts from each of them. But we're looking for an overarching point that we can use to describe the perspective that each of the writers are coming from. So obviously they're both on a journey. They both focus on the power of the sea. They both show overwhelming fear at points. They both show a desire to survive. And they both end in uncertainty. So I would suggest picking 3 of those that you can make solid points about, and obviously making the reference that they're both on a journey It's quite simple. So the first paragraph here, so the point is the power of the ocean. Source A and B focus on the writer's perspectives as they journey through the sea, consistently emphasising the power of the ocean. In Source A, it's evident that the writer underestimated the sea at first, because he is shocked that he's unprepared and his brand spanking new boat was no match for the wall of white water towering over them. The adjective towering stresses to the reader the immensity of the water, revealing the writer's change in perspective as he realises that his life is in danger and he is weak in comparison to the ferocity of the ocean. Additionally, the metaphor of the wall of white water further highlights the writer's realisation of his powerless position as the water rises above him. In Source B, the writer is more realistic and seems to understand the strength of the ocean from the start of his description. He opens with a critique of the vessel, stating the engine throbbed like an overworked human heart. Here, the writer personifies the ship to indicate its weak position against the tempest. This also reflects the writer's feeling of helplessness, because the verb overwork suggests that the ship is exhausted and will provide little protection. The writer is trapped with nothing to do but observe the inadequate vessel and the chaos that erupts. In Source B, the writer expects the boat to be taken by the sea and settle down beneath the tremendous tumult of the waters. The sensory tone of the water roaring against the ancient and much damaged ship draws on the reader's emotions, because the writer is describing the sea in an animalistic way, evoking feelings of sympathy as the writer's perspective seems fearful and fatalistic at this point. So as you can see, it's broken down into sections. So first of all, it deals with the point, which is they both focus on the power of the sea, and then individually pulls out quotes. So there's not 100 quotes in here. There is a towering quote for source A, and then we pick it apart. And then in Source B, there's a few more quotes, but they all emphasise the same point about the power of the sea. We also look at his change in perspective in Source A and the change in perspective in Source B. Okay, so fear. So this would be the second paragraph. I'm not going to complete it because I want you to do this, but if you go back to the end of the power of the ocean, a linking sentence. So because the writer is describing the sea in an animalistic way, evoking feelings of sympathy as the writer's perspective now seems fearful and fatalistic. So here it seems that there's no hope. And then we move on to the paragraph that talks about fear. So in both sources, fear is a prevalent feeling, yet Source A expresses the writer's fear anxiously, whereas the writer in Source B is calmer in his description in the opening. This is likely to do with the fact that the writer in Source A is in closer contact with the sea than the writer in Source B. In Source A, the writer's fear is presented through flashbacks, switching from the terror he's experiencing in the ocean to his wife back at home, longing for her. The noun home connotes safety, warmth, and security, which... Now take the time. So here are the other paragraphs that you could possibly write. I would pick one of them. The desire to survive, or the fact that both texts end in uncertainty, and how that makes you as a reader feel, or what the writer's intent was in doing this, and what methods they used to show the uncertainty. So spend some time noting down how points of comparison have been made, seeing that you don't just need to randomly tag in unnecessary methods. They have to relate to whatever the point is that you're making. So we've got our point of power of the ocean, fear, and I would pick desire to survive because we see this in both of them, but they're dealt with differently. And obviously that could link to the fear that they're feeling because the ship is yet to sink in Source B, but the close contact in Source A makes the fear and the desire to survive more emphatic. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you don't know what the methods are, look back at my structural and language device videos. Please like and share the video and click the bell so you can be with me when I upload new content. So good luck, guys.